3, 2, 1. We are live.
We are live. The Hunt for Success, number 23. Cody Steinman, Ryan McCracken, Brad and Ashley Miller. Number 23. 1 year ago today, we started the podcast.
No, not true. Not true.
That's what you said.
We have a debate.
No, that was when we had Emery on.
Oh, well, it's been a year since we've had Emery on.
Let's give a shout out to Jessica. Jessica, it's your birthday. Happy birthday if you're listening.
Happy birthday. If you're a backpacker, mountain climber, anything like that, listen to Emery's podcast called
Byland Podcast.
Byland Podcast. Shout out to Emery.
We got him to do a podcast.
We did.
And he's crushing it now.
We're going to get Brad and Ashley to start a podcast.
Oh, you're not the first person to try to get us to do
Scary.
What is it? Coffee and confidence? What is it?
Coffee and consistency.
Coffee and
That's
consistency.
We're already doing the work. We might as well record.
Yeah,
Dude,
exactly.
that's what I told him. I was like, you're already doing it every Saturday morning. You might as well just plug in the mic.
You know,
You
we've
have
been
all your baby, you have all your baby podcasts out there that you birthed that helping people get the idea.
it's kind of a vault. It's a vault. We looked at this last year. It's a vault of really cool conversations that we'll have forever, whether 5 people watch it or 5 million people watch it. So it's really cool to look back and see that. And we were kind of talking. Go ahead.
We surpassed 5 people
Yeah, we did.
just yesterday.
I'm one of your 5.
Well, happy anniversary and happy big milestone.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. And, we were kind of talking about the format of this podcast before we started, and you were asking, what kind of other podcasts do we listen to? And Noah Blanton, who was on one of the episodes, afterwards he said, I really think that this is kind of your journey through personal development. And I never looked at it that way. We just wanted to sit down with cool people that have cool success stories in one form or another. So we've had Olympians on. We've had guys that have climbed Mount Hood and fell off and broke their legs. We've had minimalists. And so when he told me that, I go, that's exactly what this podcast is. It's a journey. And who knows where it'll go and when it'll end. But it really gives Ryan and I a place to kind of express some of our thoughts and our thinking process on personal and business development with cool people like yourselves.
That's awesome. Like you said, it's documented. So
Yeah.
you get to track your own journey.
Well, and you were asking who we listen to. So we both listen to a lot of Joe Rogan. Mm-hmm. And
As looks like everyone else in the world,
Yeah.
according to the charts.
Yeah, true. He's big time.
You guys are coming for him though.
Yeah.
and, what are some of the other ones?
I listen to, I've Emery's podcast, the Meat Eater podcast with Steven Ranella.
Jocko.
Jocko's podcast. Lance Armstrong has the Move podcast, and so whenever there's big cycling races on, that's a fun one to listen to.
And so the biggest win for us would be to give other people the experience we've had when we're sitting there grinding at work, trying to hit our goals, trying to be consistent and in the moment, and maybe we have a challenge or we're working towards a goal and we hear something. Maybe it's something completely outside of my industry and it sparks an idea in my head or a solution to a problem. And if we can do that for other people, then for me, we hit our goal.
Yeah.
Right. So we just met. Tell me a little bit more about you guys and what you do, and conclude by telling me what is important about success to you guys.
All right. So, like I said, Brad and Ashley Miller. What do we...
You just want to sneak up on that mic a little bit.
Thank you. What do we do? We are, technically we're health coaches, but that's morphed into becoming more business coaches. And I would say it's majority of our time and energy now goes to actually business coaching business coaches. So it's turned...
So you're coaching coaches.
90% of our work time would be that. About 10% goes into coaching clients in the health.
And what
part.
builds a resume to the point where you have the confidence to coach coaches?
I'd say it's basically doing the work. So like we've evolved for that. Like we've created a successful business. And so that venture is helping people create health, and not just like what you eat or how you exercise, but really a full approach to what we call optimal health. And that's the program that we coach. And so we've had such success with that rolls into, it's really a pay it forward. Like you guys have learned so much. Like this podcast is a really good example of that. You guys have learned so much. You're rolling that into conversation, help paying that forward along the journey. So Our business has grown so much that we basically help other people follow the path that we've done and create more wins across the board.
And did you get to a point where you had so many people you were coaching where you're like, I can't coach all these people, we need to bring other people in? And did you kind of promote those people? Did you approach them and say, hey, you're doing really good, how do you feel about coaching other people?
That's exactly what happens. So, the referrals start rolling in, and you start thinking, as I'm developing a team, what does that team stand for? What's it look like? What are the values? And and something I was thinking about on the drive here was, I think is one of our mentors' things is values. What is it? I'm like, what is it? Values bring us together, and beliefs bring us apart. So everyone can so think about inclusivity, right? Like, what are your values? And that's universal. And just general beliefs, like I vote this or you vote that, doesn't really matter when the values can combine.
Gotcha.
So you start laying out what are those values that this team, and I know you guys have talked about this before, like what do we stand for? And then you start to see that in other people. And so really for us, it started within our clients. Our clients were doing great. We saw similar values. And those were the people that were sending us these referrals. And we thought, well, what if we trained you? You're already supporting these people you're sending us. What if we showed you how to make this into a coaching practice for yourself? And that has grown and grown and grown over 9 years.
And are most people pretty excited about that opportunity?
I think most people are. I think it's tendency to be afraid of what you don't know. Mm-hmm. So I think dispelling some of the fear of the unknown is a big part of that. And it's not for everybody. And I think it's not being attached to that, but just recognizing that potential that you see in other people. And you just make an offer, would you be open to exploring this? And then you explore it. It's like you're not getting married, you're just going on a date. Let's just see what it looks like. Maybe it's a fit, maybe it's not right now. And
have you had pretty good luck with people representing your culture and your core values?
I would say, yeah.
It's very interesting because there's not really much like it. So it's kind of the idea from day one that that's a possibility. You're getting healthy, and it's I love the approach, and that's what I was attracted to. My family combined has lost over 2,000 pounds, and that's just the weight portion.
How many people are in your family?
There's a lot of people and a lot of weight.
There's a lot of weight. There's a lot of people. So what's kind of cool about it is it's from the day one that there is a way to create health and practice and an approach to it, unlike a diet aspect. So it's kind of like day one that this is on the table, and that's actually the brilliance of what Dr. Anderson was talking about with what Ashley was talking about.
Is that your mentor?
Yeah, that's the person that created this program. And that anyone can roll this forward. So it's kind of on the table from day one. So it's not like a big turnover. It's kind of like it flows there. I say 95% of people become coaches after they've had success, as opposed to like, oh, I think that sounds cool. Let's explore it, because it's the experience. If you experience something amazing, the next step is sharing it. The next step on top of that is, the teacher teaches. Really, the person that teaches is learning it twice, and it gives them opportunities and possibilities, and it's kind of natural the way it rolls out.
So, to kind of piggyback on what you're saying, when you have these coaches become coaches and they start coaching, do you feel that helps support their disciplines and what they're doing too, because now they're teaching?
100%. Yeah. I would say, so the picture we look at is full transformation, and we notice 4 major components. The first would be healthy body. So what am I feeding my body? The second is healthy mind. So what am I feeding my mind? The third would be community. And the fourth is support. And what we posture, because we see for full true transformation for long term, is receiving support, which is hard for a lot of people to do, but be open to receiving support. And then it's, how are you going to be a light for others? How are you going to support others? And that could look different for a lot of people, but a lot of people do choose that. A key to the support of receiving and giving would be to start coaching others.
And to answer a question that you were kind of talking about earlier, we were talking about mentorship. and how important that is. I personally feel it's a art form that's lost in this country. So, this is a natural mentorship model, which I really have loved because, I don't know where I'd be today if I didn't get in a mentorship setup.
Yeah.
And, we're from the millennial generation where everyone knows everything, and we're really apt to not learning things, which is just, if you're not learning or growing or getting insight from someone who's gone ahead of you, really, you have a ceiling that's going to be on your life.
Yeah,
So
or like you said, knowing what you don't know.
exactly.
Right.
So then back to the question of like, do we have like a good? What was the question on that? Basically, like, do we know it's good representation through the?
Yeah, I mean, have you had any? Is it pretty natural that these coaches that come on represent your value, or have you had people skew off?
Well, I mean, in 9 years, you're going to have some people skew off, but it's it's pretty obvious that you can't grow if you're not growing. You can't grow professionally if you're not growing personally. So that doesn't mean people can't come in and make mistakes, but it's, are you choosing to grow through those? And so we have a culture, an environment, and a business that supports that, but not everybody wants to grow, and that's okay. We honor that, but frankly, they're just not. This isn't going to work for them.
Now these coaches, are they being coached still?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Every coach has a coach.
Yeah. And so, I mean, and knowing that the coach isn't the full aspect, it's not me and you're dependent on me. There's the 4 aspects that we talked about, which are key. And there's some really cool things that make it really easy to have coaches not go off, like, as far as good representation. It's because, one, we have a proven system. One of our mentors, is Marshall Thurber, and he's really big on systems. Systems allow ability to scale and you accomplish more and reach more people. And we also have great mentorship in Dr. Ray, who really desires to have an inclusive environment where people are valued. And I find that people thrive in systems and with being valued. And so, and also you put on the fact that no one's doing this for a discount. They're literally making the conscious decision that I would like to help other people and I want to be a part of this, as opposed to any other ulterior reasons why they'd want to be doing it. So it really keeps the integrity extremely high, which another thing I love about what we do.
Yep.
Well, and paying for coaching is a level of accountability within itself, right? When you have to write that check. So I do business coaching.
Oh, okay.
No, I don't coach, but I have a coach. And we just had a big, had a big breakthrough on our last call. So I get a 45-minute call twice a month, every other week. And we have a website platform with a dashboard where we set metrics and goals and we analyze it each week. And I had a coach for almost a year, and we did some amazing things together. And I went into it, I thought I was being open-minded, but after about 3 months, I realized that I wasn't. And then at that point, we broke through, and we accomplished some amazing goals. And one of my best years in business was that year. And then I had a change in my coach this year, and it was going well. He helped us. The best call I had with him was our very first call. We were going through a company transition, and just getting unbiased. Never talked to this guy before. He gave us some really good opinions that helped us make some really tough decisions. But kind of the coach coaching the coach. Our last call, we had a big breakthrough because I said, here's what's going well in the call. Here's kind of what is different from my last coach. And I just had a honesty moment with him, which is hard to do with a coach.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And he was super open. And then we both kind of had this breakthrough. And I realized that I'm equally as responsible for the outcomes of our coaching relationship as he is.
Yes.
That's big.
And so I said, at that point, I committed. I'm like, look, I'm going to do everything I can to make you and I successful for both of us. Because his goal is to make me successful, but his goal is also to be successful as a coach.
Right.
And so if I don't follow through and give it 110% and show up, I'm famous for calls at 7 a.m. at 6:45, I'm entering all my metrics for the week, right? So
No one does that. No one.
if that's what I'm doing, am I setting us up for success? And so our next call's tomorrow, and I'm really excited to kind of share with him what I've done over the last 2 weeks and what I failed at the last 2 weeks. So.
Right.
Congrats, man.
Yeah, seriously,
So
congrats.
coaching's a big deal.
It is a big deal. And I like how you, your personal development through the understanding that mentor-mentee relationship is huge. And like you said, the difference it means when you're starting to take ownership of that, now you're talking
Because
momentum.
when you're paying for a coaching service, you get really entitled. Like,
Yeah, you do.
I'm
What are you
not
gonna do
getting
for
what I
me?
need out of this.
Yeah.
You know, like, what do you got for me this week?
Right.
How come you didn't know my goal was this? Right?
Yep.
One of our first sessions, he said, "Are you calling all your clients and referral partners once a week and giving them update on all their transactions?" And I said, "Yeah, I could do better, but yeah, I'm doing that." And then that was it. And I remember going, "Is this what I'm paying this amount of money for? This is all I got?" I remember going, right, I go, I just spent 45 minutes, and the takeaway is I need to call my database. And so, or call my clients. And then I was on the phone with our regional manager, and I told him that, and I'm like, I think I'm going to start looking at some different coaching programs because, I've been doing this 14 years. I'm fairly successful, and that's like super basic. And he goes, "Well, are you doing it?" I said, "Kind of." And so I said, "That's it. I'm going to do it 100%, execute it." And so that week I did, and I'm like, holy shit. I should have been doing this every week. That was definitely worth the cost of admission for that one tip, even though it was super basic foundation, like day 101, right?
Right.
Yep.
So,
I do think that that's where some people do get frustrated is that doesn't matter how long you've been doing something, it's always the basics.
Totally.
Always the basics.
Always is the basics.
So we went to Grant Cardone together.
Yes.
And
So glad you joined us.
somebody
Yes.
said,
oh, that's right.
goes,
Yeah, where were you?
what was your,
Holding down the fort.
Yeah, that's right.
somebody said, what was your takeaway? And I said, honestly, do you want to know what my takeaway was? First speaker, 10 minutes in, I didn't need to be there anymore. Like, I know that all I need to go home is to go home and do the basics.
Right.
And the rest is going to take care of itself. There wasn't anything, I mean, yeah, there were some great ideas to be had, but nothing was earth shattering to me. It was like, go do the basics and you're going to be all right.
Right.
But the basics are never fun, and especially in health,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Waking up, doing your workout, being consistent, doing the boring basic stuff. That's not fun. But once you get that foundation, then you can go, oh, I'm going to add in what's something cool about working out. I don't work out. What's those kettlebells? Oh, I'm going to try this kettlebell workout, or I'm going to try this advanced modification of my diet. Then you can start having fun. Same in our business. Well, maybe I'll do something fun like do a YouTube commercial.
Yeah.
Or reach out to this different industry I wasn't thinking of. But without the basics, you can't do the fun stuff.
Exactly.
Or start coffee and consistency.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that's what we see a lot is people, they really want the fun stuff. And I'm like, but you also want effective. Like a percentage of your time and energy gets to go to fun. But you earn it, and that's what we talk about is like the transactional work in our industry is the transactional work is what opens the door to the transformational work. And, a lot of people, they want to just jump into transformation. I'm like, well,
and I
you got to
think
do your
like
transaction.
with anything, you see successful people, and generally you see successful people having fun. When in the background, you don't see all their hard work that goes into having that awesome vacation or whatever it is, or the
What was
fancy
that-
car they drive, or
What was that sticker I had on my monitor that you hated? It said, life sucks or something like that.
I don't remember.
It was it was a Darren Hardy thing. And it was like hard work sucks or something like that.
Yeah, something to that effect.
And I had it on there. I was going through this. You guys know who Darren Hardy is?
No.
He
No,
used to
tell
be the publisher or editor of Success Magazine.
Got it.
And he
Okay.
does a lot of his last book was the Entrepreneur Roller Coaster, the Compounding Effect. He's wrote some amazing
Oh,
books.
yeah. That's actually my next read, Compound Effect.
It's really good.
Yeah, I've heard like great things about it.
And there's a lot of relationships between health, right? That compounding effect of having the mocha every day.
Yes.
But I had the life suck. It was just a quote I got from him that day. I think I put it on my Instagram feed too. But and what it meant was all people see when they look at Oprah is they see all the shows she does, all the fancy stuff she does, or Bono, living the rock star life. They see all these things that
Was it like 98%?
98% of what I do sucks.
Yeah, and I was like, I don't agree with that. I was like,
99. It was 99.
because I was like, if 99% of what you do sucks, why are you doing what you do then?
Yeah. So like Bono, for example, the 1% was
Yes.
the performance in Wembley Stadium in front of 100,000 people where he gets to be a
Yes.
rock star. But what you don't see is the 99% of the hotel rooms he has to, the constant travel, being away from his family, the rehearsing, the writing the songs, the struggling as he was going through. You don't see that 99%. What you see is the 1% success.
Right.
Yep. And I actually kind of I get both contexts. That's why I'm already enjoying the conversation. I feel like you can always find a little bit more love in what you're doing. But yes, one of my favorite quote, I don't even know where I got it from, was that most overnight successes took a really long time to create. No one sees the groundwork, the foundation that goes into it. And back to the basics, that's basics are boring. But kind of like you were talking about with, with the coach is, you make a commitment to it. And I think you can also make the same commitment to make the basics fun. It's about re-falling in love with the basics.
Yeah.
If you do them drudgingly, man, that's going to suck. But if you recommit, if you create all the time, I mean, it's like, we're married here. Are you married, Woody? Okay, so you guys know that it's a little different than was when Al first got married, but you recommit to that relationship, to re-falling in love. And, if you just went around the basics, of course, you'd be bored with it. But everything that you create in life success, like it's coming back to recommitting to those basics.
Well, and that's a great transition, Brad, because the next thing I want to talk about is accountability, right?
Oh, hey.
And the marriage thing, in order to rekindle the love and be consistent, it takes accountability. Like if you asked me when our last date night was, I would say last week. And if you asked my wife, she would say October, right? So she owns that. I know you're going a million miles an hour, so I'm going to plan these dates. I just want you to be there. So she owns the date night thing, and I show up at every time, 99% of the time. So you yourselves, do you guys require accountability, or are you pretty self-accountable? And then how does that filter down in your coaching program?
I think we're too self-disciplined sometimes. I think we're too self-directed sometimes. We're both, call it what you want, we're both the oldest children in our families. We're both really independent. And to our detriment, we can do things ourselves. But what we have found is everything duplicates, And so what we choose to do in that sense is put ourselves in situations for accountability on whatever it needs to be. But we want to show that to our kids. We want to show it to our team and to the world that, we're pretty self-sufficient, but that's not how this works. Would you agree to that?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
And we are accountable to each other, but that's a fine line. And I think anybody who's ever worked with a spouse knows, it takes a lot of intention to your co-parents, your business partners, and your, a husband and a wife. And each of those sections, some people are great at compartmentalizing that and others aren't. And what happens when one person is and one person isn't? It's a lot. And so that's an area of accountability that's huge.
And in order to be accepting of that accountability, do you find yourself having to keep your emotions in check?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And we always do.
You always
We always
do.
Well, and Ryan, we always do.
No, we don't always. We always need to. Let's put it that way. We're not perfect.
That was definitely a joke.
No. We always do need to do that. Yeah.
We're human.
Oh, yeah.
We're all human.
And if anyone doesn't
Absolutely.
know, that's like the work you have to go into knowing that you're not going to do things perfect, but you have to strive to be better, or else everything's a practice in your life. And if you treat things like practice and commit to getting better to them, things get a lot easier over time. You become more conscious, and that accountability actually comes easier when you take everything as practice, because you're not feeling like, oh, I didn't do it right or do it wrong. It's like you're being accountable to get better. And I've just noticed that approach has also helped us a lot in our life as well.
Does that kind of lead you to think that every time I do something, one, it's not as good as it could be? It's practice. Next time will be better.
Oh, now you're going into perfectionism versus excellence. And I just try to position, did I do the best I could at that moment with the best I had? And if I didn't, I'm not one to just make it positive. I don't think that really serves earned wisdom. But okay, what did I learn? This is something we work on a lot. What did I learn? Or excuse me, what happened? Maybe what went wrong, and what could I do next time? And then actually do something about it, you know.
And
but,
do you include in that what was good about what we did?
Yeah, that'd be, for instance, something not great happened. But for sure, yeah. I mean, what went well, what didn't, what could I do better next time? But, you know, I think excellence comes from a place of knowing who you are, and that takes a lot of work. And then perfectionism is everything else. You're trying to feed your lack of identity, per se, or whatever, with everything out there. And nothing will ever be good enough. You will never be good enough if you live in that. But excellence, I think, is I did the best I could with what I've got.
It comes back full circle to coaches need coaches.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We even have a parenting coach. I mean, we put any area in our life that matters to us, we're filling it in with accountability, experts, you know, whatever. We don't even have to agree with everything with that person, but that's the point.
Well, and to kind of circle back to the accountability piece, I'm somebody that requires a lot of accountability in everything I do, especially with work, you know, down to having a specific person that's going to hold me accountable to a goal on a weekly basis, down to Ryan and I racing to who could do the coffee in the morning to prove that they were there first, right? The little things. But what I realized, and I thought that everybody needed that. So among the people I worked with, everyone needs an accountability partner. So as an office, everyone pick a partner, we're going to have accountability. But what I learned from doing this podcast is not everybody needs a lot of accountability. Some of the people like Doug Mendenhall and Roger and those guys, when I ask them that question, they're like, you know what? I'm pretty self-accountable.
Yeah.
And so I think recognizing that other people, you know, kind of catering to what they need, that whole emotional intelligence. This person needs a lot of accountability. If I try holding this person accountable, it's going to backfire.
Right.
So.
Well, I think, yeah, I mean, what I see universally on the people who are achieving it, though, is whether you love and appreciate and do better with accountability, or you're like, no, I'm pretty self-directed, is in both, you have intrinsic motivation. What you need to do to reach your goal, that could look different along the steps for each person, but your goals are your goals. You don't have anyone else set your goals. You're getting other people to go give you that accountability support, but at the end of the day, nobody sets your goals for you. You set your goals for you. And that's the same with all these other guys who are saying, I'm kind of good, I got it. You're on the same path. It's just how you get there is what's individual to you. And I think as a coach, I have to say one of the more frustrating areas that we go through is that point of like, I can't set your goals for you. I can't tell you what's important to you. You tell us what's important to you. You tell us what you find to be your goals. I can probably open your eyes to maybe if I see something bigger, because maybe I think that you might be shortchanging yourself. But ultimately, those are your goals. That's your intentions. And what can I do as the coach to walk beside you to achieve your own goals?
All right. So Ryan and I have had a debate.
Oh, let's hear the debate.
Tell us.
And there's no right or wrong answer, but we've had a debate.
But someone is right.
For several years about goal setting, right? Because every year we put together our own separate business plans.
I wouldn't say debate. We just go at it different ways.
We go at it different ways.
Yeah.
But I think it's a good thing to talk about because goal setting should be different for different people, right? And there's no one right or wrong way to set goals, but understanding why you're setting those goals where you are, I think is important. So Ryan likes to set goals that are very achievable and then try to exceed those goals. Mm-hmm. I like to set goals that are almost out of reach.
Yes.
And then if I fail good. Right?
Yes. Yeah.
So what do you think about that? Is there how do you guys coach people when they say, okay, my goal is to earn this much income or my goal is to lose this much weight or gain or lose this much body fat percentage. Is that right?
Or whatever
Whatever the goal
position the
Yeah.
person is in. Both. It's both. I will ask more questions as the coach to say, okay, so what's your reaction if you don't achieve that? If your reaction is what yours is, yeah, but I did a lot more than I would have if I set it lower, you're on the right track. If it's like, I'm crushed, I don't know if I'm going to keep going, you're probably setting your goals
Too
in
high.
a way that doesn't serve you.
Yeah.
For sure. I'm all about, personally, what I learned from Grant Cardone, it changed my life, it changed our business, was he says, don't adjust your goals to meet your action, adjust your action to meet your goals.
Say that again.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
that was a good one.
don't adjust your goals to meet your action, adjust your action to meet your goals. So how many of us have been in business meetings where it's getting to the end of a quarter and they're like, oh, maybe we need to lower our goals, because it doesn't look like we're going to reach it. Then why the hell did you set the goal? That doesn't make any sense. You had a deadline. Hold yourself to the fire. Up your action to achieve the goal and learn from it. If that was unrealistic, then next quarter you need to make some adjustments, but don't lower your action to accommodate, don't lower your goal to accommodate your inaction.
Yeah. And I have some thoughts on that too that have been.
Sorry, I got saucy.
No, that was
Hey,
good.
that's my girl. You see why I married her now. This is actually something I'm very passionate about. Is I kind of mentioned systems and flow, which is and Ashley talked about beliefs versus values, and basically that culminates for me in a saying that I really love, which is eat the fish, spit out the bones. Get the meat out of what you need, and with that, I don't think either one of you are wrong. The core fundamentals are right there in the middle, and you've aligned those core fundamentals to line up with how best suits you. So you're not going there's not like crazy one way. The core fundamentals are the same. That you looked at where you were at, and you figured out where you wanted to go, and you made steps along the way to get there. That's the meat of the conversation. How you go about doing a little bit to the left or a little bit to the right, that's the core piece that anyone can come back to for a recipe for success. So if you do a little bit to the left or a little bit to the right, the basics are still the same.
Like if you have a goal that's 12 months out, as coaches, how do you keep people motivated throughout those 12 months?
Oh, that's a great question. I typically like to look backwards on benchmarks. Okay, so where do you need to be in 6 months? What's halfway? Okay, then where do you need to be by 3 months? Okay, then where do you need to be in a month? Okay, where do you need to be in a week? Okay, where do you need to be right now? That's what I've found.
Which is all part of our program, which is great too. Like Dr. A, there's a teacher called Robert Fritz, and he wrote a bunch of books. One of it was Your Life is Art, and he basically focused on this teaching, which is called structural dynamics. Where are you currently at? Where do you want to go? What are the steps along the way that you need to achieve to do those things? So long, short, whatever it is, like that's really how you accomplish a goal, and then breaking it down to little things. But
Yeah.
I mean, we're having a good conversation here. You guys are massively successful. What do you guys feel on this? Like, what kind of things do you subscribe to on this thought? What's made you guys successful? You guys just moved
Can I
into
tell
the
my
building.
box story?
Please tell the box story.
Yeah, do it.
So,
And while you're doing that, I'm gonna actually take a sip of this.
Yeah.
We've been talking about being on this show
want
for
some
a
ice?
year. No, I'm good. Just a little
here,
sip.
I'll pour it for you.
Yeah. I was like, oh man, I'm gonna be in this manly situation, and like Ryan's been selling me on it forever.
This bottle was full 2 podcasts ago. And
Oh,
I think,
boy.
I think
I'm not that
Roger, I think there's been some people sneaking.
I'm not that big
Somebody's,
of a
somebody's
drinker.
taking nips off the bottle.
Well,
Oh
they
my
come in here from
goodness.
fishing all day and they clean their fish. And I know what happens.
I know.
Would you
what
like some?
happens. I'll have a sip of his.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll
Thank
we're not
you.
big ones, but I wanted the experience.
So, I decided to set a crazy goal. So we go to kind of like the Grant Cardone. We go to. Are you guys familiar with Todd Duncan? Probably
That's
not.
the one you go to in Vegas, right?
Well,
to be in Palm
Springs.
Springs.
Yeah,
Palm
now it's
Springs,
in
that's
San
Palm
Diego.
Springs.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
So if you're in the mortgage
Industry.
real estate industry, title, or if you just want to hear some really good personal and business development outside your industry, go to Todd Duncan Sales Mastery. It's in October in San Diego this year. So I came back from that with a goal of X amount of loans I wanted to close, or the way I worded it was X amount of homeowners I wanted to help this year. And so I really struggled with that year-long goal. And so I wanted a visual, something that I had to walk by every day, like the thermometer,
Yeah.
you know, with the marker.
Right.
And so
Did you guys get a big thermometer?
no,
Just
I did
wait-
better.
just
I
wait
did
for
way
it.
better.
Okay. All right, wait. Oh, it's even better now.
It's better. And so I send out these closing gifts every time we close. It's a box with a balloon in it and some chocolates and some other stuff. And then there was a key, a blank key for their new house.
Oh, yeah.
Tied to a
That's
balloon.
genius.
Very thoughtful.
And so I'd send it to their place of employment, hopefully. And they're in their cubicle. They open it up. The balloon pops out. All their coworkers come up and say, "Oh, what happened?" You know, it says, "Thank you." "Oh, I just bought a house." And they say, "Congratulations." And there's some chocolates for them to share.
and good advertising at the
Genius.
same
And
time.
good advertisement. Good advertising.
Very smart. We're gonna do that.
And so
actually.
on the way back from Sales Mastery, I called our marketing person. I said,
Dude, I think it was during the seminar. You were
I think
like,
you're right.
you like call, you're like, order the boxes.
do it. Do
So
it
I
now.
said,
Did you order?
I said, I want you to order 70. I want you to order 70 boxes.
like that.
And then I got back that Friday night. I took my daughter into the office on Saturday, and we put together 70 boxes. And our office wasn't big, and so I lined them up against the wall. Like it was 10 stacks of 7 high stacks of boxes.
Took up the whole wall.
Took up.
Yeah.
It kind of looked like we were moving. So Ryan comes in on Monday. He's like, "What the hell have you done?"
Is your OCD just like, I'm going to kill you?
And I'm like, I'm super proud of myself, right? I'm like, dude, check this out. This is how many homeowners I'm going to help this year. When we start their process, I'm going to write their name on the box. And that way, every time I have to walk from here to the water cooler or here to out to my truck to go goof off or whatever I'm going to do, I have to walk by those boxes. Not only do I walk by the boxes, but I have to walk by every name. And that if I am not on track and being consistent, then those are the people that I'm not serving.
It's good.
And then throughout the year, the stacks got smaller and smaller and smaller. And it really, about September, I really got motivated because there was
Too many
a
boxes.
third of the boxes left. And that year, we got rid of all the boxes.
Nice.
Wow, that's
There's-
awesome.
There's so many good things in what you're talking
Oh,
about. right
yeah.
now. There are so many good fundamentals of goal setting in what you just did there. I love the box. I'm going to use the box
Well,
story all the time. now.
And so there's no way I was going to. So my next year's goal was 150.
Ooh.
And
you do like to set big goals.
yeah, and well, I had a 3-year goal. I came up with when I was doing the Darren Hardy module was to double my business 3 years in a row. And we're still working through that. But there was no way I was going to be able to do 150 boxes. Ryan would divorce me.
It would just be balloons and cardboard everywhere.
Yeah.
You would walk into the office one day and there would just be a
Freaks out.
massacre.
So I bought bulletin boards, and I did the same thing. I brought my daughter in on the Saturday. I'd ordered these bulletin boards with little push pins, and I bought that number of keys.
Oh,
And so I
yeah.
put those on the wall and then put the keys up, and then I'd put the name above the key.
Yep.
And that looked a lot better, right?
Way better.
Ryan could sleep at night.
But for me, that doesn't work for everybody, but having that visual
Yes.
for me and a reminder when I was walking by them every time.
Yes.
And then I think it
absolutely.
encouraged our support staff a little bit too when they'd start to see the keys go down. And now our ops manager sends out a thermometer monthly with a similar deal.
Well, it's
very
yeah,
smart
it's
of what
the
you did.
email with
So
Yeah.
what's cool about that is there's so many fundamental things that work at that. Like, so goals should be measurable, achievable. You should be excited about them. There should be steps in them. You should be able to visualize them. Like Grant Cardone is someone that we really subscribe to, and he's like, you should look at your goals every single day. You know,
Yeah.
I did something similar for our business last year that allowed us to double our business. We have never doubled our business in a year since like growing, to like a substantial
Was that
level.
your goal that year to double?
Yeah, I actually set a ton of little goals when I started. It's funny, like people asked us like some things that we did along the way to do that, and I could tell you a laundry list of things that we did. We also work with great people too. I mean, that's you can't accept all of it, but I would say the number one thing I did is I made a commitment to monitor the growth areas of our business and commit to 10% growth a month. And it's when you're looking for that you'll find it. And there's also a cool thing that I love about the way you set goals, like. Have you guys ever learned about the chemicals that go on with our body, like dopamine or any of the chemicals that get released when we do things like endorphins or activity like that?
Well, we were just talking about it when we came in today, and we were saying, how you guys, you're like, oh, you're doing a bunch of podcasts lately, and Cody
Yeah.
and I had sat down one afternoon and like, let's schedule the guests. Let's get 5 more guests today.
Yes.
And we went back to the basics, started making phone calls, texting, emailing, and
Bugged us enough
Yeah,
times
yeah.
because we're flaky.
no, it's all good.
I don't
So-
know about flaky.
Well,
just-
next
we're
time,
busy.
we'll be like, hey, you guys want to come on the podcast? They'll be like, sure, 2 hours. We'll be there in 2 hours.
Yes.
Are
Next
you?
time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Heck
So
yeah.
sorry to derail you.
No, it's good.
Oh,
Dopamine.
yeah. Who's the author that we love?
Oh, Simon Sinek
Simon
wrote-
Sinek.
Oh,
Simon
yeah.
Sinek.
Have you read Simon
Leaders
Sinek's?
Eat Last.
Yes.
Leaders
Oh
Eat
yeah.
Last, and he
yeah.
also wrote Start with Why.
Yes.
Great books. But basically, I mean, and that's just his breakdown of how that works in the business world. But dopamine is your ability. Like, has anyone ever, for those that don't know, you can start actually like focusing on getting dopamine, and that's how you can orientate it into your goals. Is dopamine's that feeling like, have you ever just crushed a day where you got done everything on your list and you literally felt like almost euphoric or high? Dopamine is the release of what happens when you're like, you check the box, you get the thing done, like your body releases it, and when you release dopamine, you get more dopamine. And so that's another key thing is what you did is you made it easy for you to see your progress, what was next. You got that accomplishment of grabbing that box and doing. There's so many great things. I'm going to use your box story all the time.
And I shared it with clients because clients would come into my office to be like, what are all these keys?
Yeah.
Yes.
And I would say, these are all the homeowners I want to help this year. Your name's going to be up here, and that key's going to be coming to you when we're done.
Well,
Awesome.
first he had to say we're not moving. The first year he had to say
first year.
we're not moving. The reason why we have all of these boxes, and then he would tell his story. The keys were a little bit more conspicuous.
And then he had to move on to explain why Ryan was so grumpy.
Yeah.
But another thing that's also key on that, oh man, I already went blank on it.
Dopamine.
Well, I can go into the okay, so in structural dynamics, it's about how tight is that think about a rubber band, okay? So like one thing about setting goals that are push goals, if you will, is the tension is tight. So the reason you felt that tightness in September when you saw, okay, there's a lot more boxes. What if I had done all that work in the beginning
See, I had
of
the
year?
opposite. I had the opposite.
Did you crash?
So no. When September hit, I was a little ahead.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
And
Okay,
so
okay,
I
okay,
saw that stat get down. I'm
Got
like,
it.
I'm like, we're gonna do this.
Yes.
And then I was like fired up.
Got
and
it.
finished the year, and then I did finish the year stronger than I normally do. That
Okay,
year.
so you did something a lot of rookies don't do. You you worked harder when you were in the point of success. Rookies pull back.
So here's something else about me, not to take us off, but what I've realized
Keep talking.
about myself is I like recognition and I like a pat on the back.
Yeah.
I think for me, it gives me confirmation that I'm doing the right things and that I'm meeting other people's expectations. And so knowing that I was only X amount of boxes away from hitting my goal, I might even hit my goal a month early. I knew that I had told everybody about these boxes.
Yes.
All my coworkers, all the people that give me a little bit of a hard time setting this big goal. I knew I wanted that moment to where I could say I hit 70.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's really cool about this too, because we work with so many people at different levels on accomplishing goals. I think what was cool that we talked about a little bit ago is that the fact that the meat is the same, like the boards. You might figure out across the board. You might figure out what works better for you. And you mentioned having someone on the podcast at the very beginning who was a strength finder coach. There's also disc testing. There's also love languages. There's different ways that everyone's wired.
Temperaments, everything.
And it's really important to figure out what your temperaments are. That'll allow you to operate within. It's the same plan for everyone. Like all I heard when you guys said how you set your goals is I'm like, okay, they do the same thing in the middle, which is they start figure out where they're at and they figure out where they want to go. Both of you know what sets you up for better success, knowing yourself. And
Yep.
so those things to know about yourself are so key along the way.
Yeah.
Like you just said, you know that about yourself.
Emotional intelligence, self-actualization, and doing the work to get those, that's what's setting both of you guys up.
Ryan's going to drop a knowledge bomb.
All right, bring it right.
No, not even a knowledge bomb, but when we took the test, it was Cody and I had been working together for almost 3 or 4 plus almost 5 years at that point. But we took these tests, and then when we got the results, and we realized that Cody is like one of them was like futuristic,
Yes.
and
Yes,
he's
dreamer.
so far out there, and I'm like the ultimate realist,
Yeah.
and so like that's why we've always worked so well
So
together,
you
is
guys are
because
the
like
perfect married couple.
he like lobs out this unachievable goal, and then I'm like, reel it in, partner.
Yeah, yeah.
And then we meet somewhere in the middle, and it works for both of us.
Yeah.
Can I
Yes.
say something about that? Because we work with so many couples in this health
Not
and
that you
business.
are.
Not that you have to be, but well, it really is a working
Do
partnership.
we haven't told, I'm Ryan's
Wife's
cousin.
If anyone can follow that.
Yeah.
Just so,
I got lost. I have ADD. So I don't even know. I just know that I love you, Ryan. That's all I know. And that our
so
kids
I
like
know,
to play together.
so I know who is actual, speaking of couples.
But what's cool about that, there's actually, I've seen that recipe for success. Most people don't harness it when they see it. All they see is their differences. They don't learn to harness those strengths. It's such an important thing in partnership or in a marriage that I pretty much see that in every successful person. One person's a dreamer. They know how to harness it. One person's the realist. And they can collapse themselves if they don't know how to use those strengths. But
Yeah.
putting those strengths together, because we're that way. Guess who's the like, you know, the down to earth one, and which one's the dreamer in our situation? I mean, which one do you think?
I think Ashley puts out the big goals, and you're the realist.
Yep. I'm that day-to-day action. I'm the one that'll make it happen, like that kind of stuff. I'm the ground, but she's the one that always elevates the tempo. So if anyone's listening to this that is working as a couple, or just honestly life, I mean, really life is just nothing but ventures of accomplishing what we want, is harnessing that and getting yourself in a setup for success. It sounds like you guys are like the perfect partnership.
Yep.
Well, and I think it helps that we're both into growing and personal
Yeah.
development. Where a lot of
absolutely.
people,
It doesn't work
they're
if
like
you're
another
not.
seminar and they roll their eyes, and I'll go if it's going to be an open bar type of. Anyway,
So I have
Yeah.
a quick, I have a
Whole
quick
other
question
can of
for you guys.
I want to circle back. Don't let me forget about over operating.
Okay. A
Over-operating.
quick question for you guys. How many times a year, and I know it's a lot, but how many times a year do you guys go to within work and then outside of work to a special trip
Yeah.
to go like get your bucket filled again? Like whether it be the Utah trip or Grant Cardone or
Right.
Go Global, all that stuff.
Let's see, go through. So we went in February. We went in, was that April? We're going again next week.
There's 4 major events a year at our level, and then we chose to go to the Grant Cardone, and then I went to the sales boot camp. You know, what's great about what we have, and I'm not
Oh,
just
yeah,
trying to
sales
brag,
boot camp.
is we've really had to go little outside. And I know this seems a little like antithesis of what I would normally recommend someone doing, but we've really had to do very little outside of our sphere of influence because we have a really strong personal growth development community.
Like culture within our company.
And just great minds. We attract great minds. So, I mean, we have some of the greatest people in our business. I mean, even, you know, well-known authors, personal development speakers are attracted to our company, which is fantastic. So, but I'd say overall, like it's probably like 6 to 8 major things a year that we like in and outside of work. And then that doesn't even include our coaching that we hire. I mean, I'd say over the last year, and it's not about work related. I mean, these are things outside things that we're doing. We've spent over $25,000 a year in personal development, and whether trips or personal coaching.
Yep.
And I think
And we see that back tenfold every time we do because that allows
Yeah.
us to pour to more people. We just want to be better so we can help more people be better.
Right. And that then I think like as we become more financially successful, it's funny, I think people think you need less, you need more. So is more poured into it, more budgeted for it.
And Darren Hardy says, take your income, either your goal or what your current income is, take 10% and tithe it to whatever church or donations or
Yes.
philanthropy, and then take 10% and invest it in your personal development.
Oh yeah.
I 100%
Oh
agree.
yeah.
And I thought, well, that's a good rule of thumb. But then when I started doing it, I'm like, that 10% number is almost spot on. Mm-hmm. You know,
Yeah.
and it's a lot. Like if you have a high income goal, $25,000 is a lot to invest.
Well,
right?
that's yeah, and it's funny that you say that.
That's actually not 10%, so we should invest
Well, that's
more.
what I was just
We need
gonna
more
say.
help.
One of my goals. So Brad's driven, goal driven, and certain metrics really inspire him, and certain metrics really inspire me. And so we hit an income goal last month that I've been has been my intention for, I would say, probably 18 months. And we achieved it. And so speaking of what you're saying, I'm like, oh, got to go to another level now, because it's like, that's, I think, what's it, when you get to a certain point, those incomes, yeah, they're great, but it's what they represent.
Thanks for
You know
leading
what I
me back
mean?
to what I was going to
Oh,
say,
yeah.
something about your goals. What I loved about your goals, and a lot of people miss this, back to if you're having fun, because I mean, I agree with what you're saying. 90% of work shouldn't suck, but there is 99% of it is the work
Like,
you
don't be
see.
But you're
surprised if
doing the
99%
99% to
does.
get the one. Right?
Exactly.
Yes.
No, I mean, I
And
agree
the
with
one
that
is so
mentality.
worth it.
I don't agree it has to suck. But my point is what you did with your goals that were like the last thing that is the most important that most people miss is that you tied it to something that is truly, that is a service to people,
Yes.
that you're passionate about and has meaning in this world.
It's mission oriented.
It's mission oriented, and a lot of people miss that. And I think that's another
Yes.
way of falling back in love with what you're doing. Is we all do better when we're in helping other people.
Yeah.
You know, not to keep going back to Darren Hardy,
That's good. Though.
Every
Keep
podcast,
bringing it.
there's always one person,
If it brings,
but so he started out in real estate, being a
Mm-hmm.
real estate agent, and he was grinding hard and making his phone calls, and he was sucking. He wasn't getting any business. He was just failing every time. And so he went to the top guy in the office and said, "Dude, I'm doing all this work. I don't think this is for me." And he goes, "Well, let me see your list." And he goes, "Okay, here's my list of people that I'm calling today." And then top, it said hit list. And so he goes, "All right," crossed out hit list, and he goes, "People I'm going to help today."
Yes.
Turned it back, gave it to him, and he made his calls and instantly had success. And it was his mindset
Yes.
is that he was calling to hit a number of calls to get these people and close a sale.
Yep.
But then when he went into the call saying, "This is somebody that I could help,"
Yes.
he instantly, it was much easier for him to build that trust with people and realize why he was doing it.
Yeah. Can you
100%.
expand on that? Because not everyone gets that. I know Ryan gets it. We've had multiple conversations. That's how we've really operated our entire life. You obviously have incorporated your goals. Like a lot of people miss that. What's your thoughts on that?
You know, we were talking about this earlier today, and in every industry, there's bad players, right?
Yeah.
Every industry. And if you get 1,000 people together, there's going to be 10 of them that are going to be predatory, loser, asshole,
Yeah.
bad people, bad integrity.
What do we call them? Snakes in the sleeping bag?
Yeah.
And we've experienced it in our industry going through the crash. You know,
Yep.
mortgage lenders had a lot of blame and had to own a lot of that was happening as a whole, even though it was a very small percentage of people.
Right.
And same in multi-level marketing, same in the fitness, what you guys kind of do. There's that documentary that came out a couple of years ago about Herbalife.
I
Right?
didn't see it. Yeah.
You want
But we don't have
so
to-
many.
We don't have to get to that, but every industry
No,
there's
but
those
we can
people.
go
there
over it.
right?
is.
Yeah,
And
there is.
There is.
And so
There
just
is.
talking without knowing you guys beforehand and seeing your passion and all the reasons you're wanting to do what you do, it's about helping people.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did the same thing when I was doing my sales calls. Thanks to Doug Mendenhall, one of his presentations is I just changed that one word. I started breaking down that first greeting on my phone call,
Yeah.
right? And it used to sound something like,
you just hit something so big. You broke down the greeting on your phone call.
yeah.
Like, that's huge.
Because those type of that type of business is a very small percentage of the way I grow my business, but it's definitely part of it.
Right.
Most of my business are warm leads, people that know me through somebody else or
Sure.
were referred to me by somebody that they trust. But this
So
day
the
and
speed
age,
of trust is there already
It's
a
already
little
there.
bit. Yeah.
but how do you build that with somebody that you just meet standing in Starbucks or calling that doesn't necessarily want your call or doesn't know they need the call? So I wrote out my script. This is with my old coach. And I started tracking, you know. I made 10 calls, and then I'd switch one or two words up or rearrange them, and then I'd track it. And when I added the word help in, it was like a bomb went off.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And it went off in my head. So my script now is, Ryan could probably say it, he's heard it so many times, is this is Cody, blah, 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 with this company. I was just calling here about what you're looking to do and how I can help.
Yes.
And then I shut up. And you almost hear, you can hear him sigh, you can hear him go, all right, this is what I'm looking to do. It takes that defense down. And then
Yes.
you have to listen, right?
Yeah. Keep part in
Step
there.
number 2.
But
Actually listen.
all of us are in the service industry. And when, this may be different for you guys, but when you were done with school and you were trying to figure out what you wanted to do, did you want to be in the mortgage industry? We were like, oh, I'm going to go be in the mortgage industry. No, right? It found us.
Yeah.
And so there has to be a passion there and it's very easy to find that passion in what we do because we're helping people with one of the biggest, most exciting things they're going to do in their life.
Right.
But realizing that, and then you see other people that don't realize that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we heard a story the other day about an agent that was trying to sell a house that he knew had damage through a home inspection. The sale failed, and he wasn't being honest about it. And that kind of stuff sends Ryan and I through the roof.
I was like, this guy is literally just in this for the money.
Yeah.
Like it's astounding to me that some people operate that way.
Well, and what a short game. Hello.
that-
You think
and-
that's not going to come back?
Everything
It's
comes
called
back
karma.
these days.
Yeah.
And that wasn't like a rookie. That was like 20 years experience, well known. Yeah.
And these days, it's not knowing that everyone talks to everyone.
Yeah.
These days,
Yeah.
we can communicate in the blink of an eye. Like I've just always operated under like if you never have to lie, or if you never lie, you never have to worry about covering up your tracks.
Totally.
Yeah.
And Speed of Trust is huge. That's another book that is like the biggest breakthrough for me when understanding building trust with people by Stephen Covey. I don't know if you guys have read it. It's incredible.
heard of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really good.
Does
So-
that answer your question?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I love that answer because that's what you have to do. Like it really sets you up to assist. It's your mindset. And I also love what you said there. Like you just said, I offer to help. It does break down the barriers because no one really just offers to help anyone and listen. And I think you build a lot of trust very quickly that way.
And what I thought I was doing was manipulating people. Right? But what I really was doing was manipulating myself.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Absolutely.
I wouldn't even, and like, you know, this is funny because we had a conversation, but I don't even think you were manipulating yourself. I think you were teeing yourself up to be your best version of yourself to the people you ultimately wanted to help. I don't even.
Yeah,
you know,
label it whatever, but
I mean,
ultimately,
we're semantics, but
Are
that's
peop-
the way I've thought about it. It's because
Yeah.
like we've people have been like, oh, so you're manipulating them in a good way. It's like, well, are you even really manipulating? You're just honestly setting yourself up for the greatest good that you desire to do for people. So
Well, like-
that's the way I would look at what you did there personally.
there's little tricks that, and I don't even want to call it tricks, but there's little things. If you start seeing that you constantly hit against, say, well, in our personal development, whatever, we call it a concept. Like, what's stopping you? Is it a skill? Is it action? Or is it a concept? Label it fear, whatever. And you keep seeing this pattern. That's a good manipulation, is to figure out, okay, what do I need to do to break through this? So for me, it does come down to verbiage often. I'm not comfortable asking somebody just straight up, well, how much do you weigh? I think that's kind of an aggressive question. And so I will posture, well, what's optimal for you? If you could just be wherever you want to be, what's like, and I tell them, I'm like, it's not all about the scale, but we do need metrics. What's optimal
And
for you?
Weight's a very, like buying a house, weight is a very emotional thing. for
Exactly.
people.
Very emotional. And I think our job to be sensitive to that emotion, not their job to be sensitive to us. So I will ask that. And then I will ask, well, what do we need to do? Like maybe how much do we need to lose to accomplish that? So I know how to do math. And I think that I'm putting them into a much more comfortable, and then if they want to go like, well, I'm 195 and I want to be 125. Well, that's them. But I'm respecting that area with them.
What if you're 210 and want to be 185?
Well, then the math is one. No.
I need a calculator.
Carry the one.
But you see what I'm saying? It's like that was a roadblock for me. Or I also don't like people thinking that I'm just assuming that they need to lose weight. And so if they, whatever, say on, social media, they reach out, I will ask them, and I do think this is a part of service is, are you asking for yourself or someone you know? Because
Say that again.
so if someone comes to me like, oh, hey, I want to learn more about what do you do? Okay, great. My question to them right off the bat is, are you asking for yourself or somebody that you know?
She doesn't want to make assumptions that
Yeah.
that they need to lose weight
Yeah.
because
Right.
she doesn't want to turn them
So
off.
that's obviously a strategic question.
It is.
Yeah.
Well, and it
It
serves
puts them
me
in their best situation because just like what you've done with your calls, you're not calling. There's no like thought process. There's no like I can't remember the book I read, but basically when anyone like gets approached with something they're not aware of, or like they feel like they need to defend themselves, that's step one of like people, like, interaction with people. What do you need? I don't know if this is safe.
Putting up the wall.
Putting up the wall. I'm gonna.
How do I get off this phone call?
How
as
do I
soon
get
as
this phone
possible?
call?
Yeah.
Whatever it is, it's a threat. This is coming at me. Do I need to do something with it? Is it a threat? Do I need to get it out of here, or can I accept it? Like, we haven't even really engaged in the conversation. Your question just literally allows that to go away right away, and it gets to be about them, and they get to give. And that's the greatest gift I think you can give people, is the unattachment to any need, desire, or anything we need from them, so they can make clear, conscious decisions of what they
Yes.
truly want. That's what Ashley's
That's
question
good.
sets up. That's what your question sets up. And I think it's honestly one of the biggest gifts you can give people, is an unattached desire to understand what they want. Like, they literally have no pressure. They are just like, it's a blank canvas. They can start speaking their mind. You'll get true truth out of people if you give them that scenario
Yeah.
to set up.
Do you find that question catches people off guard?
No. I actually, here's what I end up seeing is, one, it does me a favor, because if I just jump right into it and they're like, actually, I'm asking for my grandma, well, it's a completely different conversation.
Thanks for telling me that I need to lose some weight.
Right. Like, oh, blah, 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 blah. And they're like, wait, whoa. And so it's immediately putting me into this like role that I don't want to be, which come off as some whatever. So it's two-sided in that, I need that information. Like, who are we talking about? And it also sets them up to where usually it goes myself. Okay, so here's where I'm at. Here's where I want to be. Blah, 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 blah. Can you help me? So just that alone, I mean, health is such a touchy subject. It's so sensitive. It's so personal. And I want to respect that. So for me, having to deal with my own concepts, what do I need to do in order to best serve this person? And if that means I need some kind of verbiage to help me, then I got to figure
Well, it
that
probably
out.
gets them emotional too, a little bit, right? When you ask them.
Yeah.
Yeah, ultimately, we're going to engage in an emotional conversation at some level. It's mostly upbeat, like, so it's never really like too serious, but they're being open with you. And what's cool about it is you tend to find that, at least for what we're doing, is weight's not what we're talking about. Yeah, we might talk about some pounds, and ultimately with our program, right, anyway, our goal is not to just be talking about weight loss anyways, because that's a diet mentality. We want to get really far away from that right from the front end. But with most people, it's tracked back to something in their life, something being out of balance. That's why we focus on optimal health. And if you really set up that question, you'll start hearing from people what the real issue is. What are they really missing? What are they not happy about? Is it energy? Is it confidence? Is it, the spouse? Or the list goes on forever. But, we want to get to that level as quickly as possible, because weight's just a symptom. And usually, in a lot of times, like a lot of people that reach out to us, and that's why we're really conscious of our brand, it's a health opportunity. Weight loss just happens to be what 2/3 of Americans need help with, and that's our easy entry point. Plus, we have great results with it. But really, we're trying to help people live a better life overall.
Yeah.
See, this is where I think sales is sales. Somebody calls us and says, "What's your interest rate today?" And that's a terrible question, but
It
that's
is.
all they care about.
Yes.
But what I care about is, well, first of all, what are you doing? Is this for you?
Right.
Or is this for
Who's
your
asking?
And we've had this
I'm gonna
conversation.
let's steal that.
Right.
Is this for your grandmother?
Right.
Because I need to know the situation here. Are you buying a house for you? Are you buying an investment property for your parents to live in?
Yep.
How
Or
much?
is it both?
Yeah.
And now we're
Yeah.
talking, I want it to be both. I want
Yeah.
me and my husband. I want it me and
Is
my
that what you
grandma.
do, Ryan?
That would open up both.
Yeah, I mean, I need, and so I tell them, I say, it's not as simple as what's the interest rate.
Yes.
And I said, we need to ask, we need to have a dialogue here so I can get to the heart of it.
Yep.
I need to know the whys, and once we figure out the whys, then we can talk interest rate, because we'll know the loan program
Yes.
and it will know the whole meal deal.
And
Same
and are
process.
we going to be able to help this person?
Yeah.
Is
Yeah,
this
'cause-
person calling 30 people and just going to pick at the lowest rate?
Mm-hmm.
Is
That's
that
not
is
gonna
that
serve
really
them.
what's important to him?
And we've had that conversation multiple times.
Yeah.
On different levels. So I don't want to open up a can of worms, but what's up with society doing that? Like, Ashley gave you a really good scenario, but more often than not, for us and people we work with, it's how much is it? What does it cost?
Totally.
Like, blah, blah, blah. It's all the how questions when you want to get to why questions. So what's up with our society and just like not knowing how to do that? Like, how to ask the right question. We always kind of pose it as like when we're helping new coaches, like, hey, they just don't know what they're asking. They asking how much the program is, but they really mean to be asking, is this a fit for me? What does it look like? What are the options? Like, here's my scenario. How is the match? What's up with that way people pose questions?
Yeah, and I think people calling us and going straight to the what's your interest rate is the same thing as somebody calling you going, okay, how much does your stupid program cost?
Exactly,
Like,
yeah.
I have a couple pounds to lose.
Like
and
I'm looking at Weight Watchers.
Yeah.
I'm looking at this CrossFit gym, and I'm looking at you guys.
Right.
And I'm only comparing on cost.
Yep.
Totally.
And
Yeah.
And you got
We
to
all do it.
You got to get the whys.
Yeah.
Right.
Why do we do it?
When it's Super Bowl and you're going to buy a new TV, you look at the ads online or whatever, and you go find the cheapest one, right?
Yeah.
Well,
If you're me, yeah. But if
Me-
you're Ashley, you go buy the
no.
most expensive one.
no. I don't care.
She has a gift. If you line up 20 things like that are identical, Ashley can pick out the one that's the most expensive for no reason.
But I
she has a
think
gift.
I'm all about like, well, what are the features? What do I want? Like, I'm the one that comes in like
She's the
more
person
aware.
you do want to talk to.
I am the person. I'd be like, all right, here's what I'm looking for. Cost matters much less to me if I'm getting what I want out of it, and that's that's a different kind of mindset in itself. I think.
Let me quote Doug Mendenhall to kind of talk about that topic. Is people want to buy, they don't want to be sold.
Exactly. Oh, that's good.
Yes.
And so they're buying something, they want to know the cost on it.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep.
And they want the best deal.
Yep.
Well, define cost. What's the cost? Is
Monetary,
it money?
money.
Is it though?
That's what that in their head, right, at
Yeah.
that time.
But
Right.
that's why we got to know the whys so that we can get down to the heart of the matter.
Yes.
Well, and you've talked to me that multiple times because people do that to you all the time. But it's like, well, what's the closing costs? What's the ability? What programs do we have available? Like if they're asking, they're missing the meat of what's going to help them. They might get a low rate somewhere, but they might pay out the butt for all the different things
But
that they didn't have at their disposal
I
because
don't
they weren't asking the right questions.
Yep.
And I don't
So
think
true.
they're doing something knowingly doing something that's
No.
wrong. That's
They
just
wouldn't
our
do it
nature.
if they
That's our
did.
nature. That's kind of why
Yeah.
I lobbed the question. Why do we do that? Like, that may be another conversation for another day.
I don't
Maybe
know.
just-
We need to figure that out.
we do. We
Well, I
do.
don't-
I
and-
do it. I know I do it to people. I'm not bagging on other people. I do it if I'm not knowledgeable. If I'm not careful, I will do the same thing over and over again to other people. What's the lowest cost?
We get all the time are people trying to sell us marketing.
Yeah.
So the best one, and
Marketing or leads. Hey,
Yeah,
we
marketing
can
or
help
leads
bring
or-
more leads into your business.
we get
You're
them
gonna
so
click
often
funnel?
Yeah, exactly.
that
Grant Cardone,
It-
10x joke.
we get them so often that it kind of becomes a learning tool, right?
Yeah.
Ooh.
And so and we get the same ones from the same companies.
Right.
And so it's interesting. You get the really aggressive ones that don't take no for an answer, won't let you off the phone. You get the ones that are sneaky, right? Like I won't name it, but the company that sells space for a local newspaper or news channel.
News channel.
They call us up. Hi, this is Cody with this news channel. We're looking to feature a mortgage lender in your area, and your name came up.
So you're like, oh, I'm important.
Like,
Right.
oh, you guys are going to write an article about me.
Right.
So
Like,
that's so
yes,
that's
I'll
so,
be. Yes, feature me. What time do I need to be in the studio?
Right.
But really, what they're doing is charging me $300 a month for a little window on their website.
Yes.
Yep.
Because you'll be featured.
Yeah.
So he's not lying.
So I don't
It's
care
just
if you
a
gave it to
posture.
me for free. I don't want to do business with you.
Right.
Because you tricked me.
Well,
I'm in the
that's-
middle of my workday.
You just nailed it. You're like, I'm learning how it makes me feel. Like, that's the learning.
Mm-hmm.
How do I feel? And then, okay, I don't want people to feel like that. Or, ooh, I feel good. This is good. There's something I can, implement here.
All right, I got to say, I was on the phone with Brad one day, and I don't remember what we were talking about, and he completely reversed the call into being like, dude, Ryan, like, you could crush X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, how did he do that? I'm like, that was so good.
That was so
like,
Jedi.
He's so good at what he does that he
Oh,
like
gosh.
completely flipped the script on me.
I don't even remember that conversation.
But
so
you know
that's
what?
funny.
This is where I think, what I know about Brad, what I know about you guys is, you know them enough to know it's sincere. And
Yes.
you
Yeah.
know them well enough, they wouldn't have said it if they actually do you know what?
Totally.
You didn't just get a line. You didn't get the thing everybody hears. It's actually thought through. And I think that's with you guys too. It's like, well, I'm not just giving you blanket advice. And like you're like, I'm not just, frankly, it's not serving you just to give you the what answer. And if you're not willing to go to the why, I've been doing this long enough.
We're not a good fit.
This isn't going to work anyways.
You're always going to have bad actors.
Yeah.
But I really feel that this millennial, our kind of generation and younger, I really feel that they're getting it.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
And
I agree with that.
that
Yeah.
there is this drive for business and personal development. And how can I be a better human? How can I be a
Yes.
better person? How can I work that into my business that maybe some of these other generations have missed?
Yeah.
And I don't think that's being represented in media.
Nope.
And, everyone says,
I think there's a mixed bag in all generations.
Oh yeah, 100%. It's not, nothing's straight across the board, but I'd say overall, like I'd agree with
but
that.
we
as
have
as a
podcasts.
overall.
We have podcasts to listen to. We have audiobooks to listen to. We have these conferences to go to. And it becomes a lot of fun.
Right.
And what we're doing now, you couldn't have done 5 years ago.
Right.
Maybe 10 years ago. But you couldn't sit and put something out on social media or on Facebook.
Joe Rogan, Jordan Peterson.
No, well but even down to Eric Post we had on last week, doing cool little videos about what the American flag means to him, or about road rage and how to be a good human. To go out to get that out and reach all these people instantly like that, I
Right.
think is really helping, our generations be a little more human, be a little better people, and incorporate that in their business.
And that's
I
actually
agree.
why it's like important going forward, because you mentioned something and tying it back to what we talked about. Is like you get sales calls all the time. How quick is your learning curve on how good you need to be to other people? So, if so facto, like look at our generation. We are inundated with this. Like we have practice like beyond means of understanding this stuff, which means the game has elevated very quickly. And if you
Yeah.
very quickly, exponentially. So if you're not authentic, I mean, I honestly feel like the number one form of communication is authentic, open communication. And if you don't have that, people can, especially our generation, can sniff it out in a second, and you won't survive if
You
you're
will
not authentic.
Absolutely.
So how did you guys manage that when you were growing and maybe a little desperate for business or trying to get the wheels going? Because there's times where it gets lean, like in the winter or during the mortgage crash, where you really see people put their ethics aside to go out and get business.
I love this question, and what what I think has really served us is we chose this path in the recession. So I'll give you the backstory on how this even happened. I was 21, Brad was 23. He had already worked in the construction field. He was a project manager for a luxury home building company that was out in Multnomah Village. And they were killing it. Like 2006, it's a good time. And so while a lot of our friends were in college, we were working. And so he did get laid off. That company had to close down. And so he switched gears. He started working for one of his subcontractors. So he went to a floor covering company and was project managing there. We were just trying to make it. We got bills. We had a mortgage. We had all this stuff. I was working 2 jobs, 60 hours a week, 6 days a week, crazy commutes, because that's what you did.
Yep.
That was what everybody did. And so basically at that point is, again, we were at a crossroad where a lot of people chose, I'm going to stay in school because I can live on loans or my parents are going to help me. And we, at that time, we were way past that. I mean, we were married. There was all so we had those factors, and we're like, no, we're going to become entrepreneurs because we are seeing all these people that put all of their security in other people and other things. We're not doing that. The only thing I know I can bet on is myself. And so from that point was how, if that's the case, then how can I'm not saying it doesn't get worse than this, but it was pretty bad. If this is how low it goes, then how will I conduct myself and my business from this point on? because I didn't have anything to lose. So that's it. To me, that is what helped us build a solid foundation from the start. Was we didn't have it good and then had to make up for it. It's like it was already hard. Let's just start it solid and build this house on a rock then instead of sand from day one. And so we've never had to scrap. And it was built our confidence in that despite the economic downturn, our business, for whatever reason, people still got to eat. They still, health still matters. And so we were able to grow, I would say, pretty quickly. While a lot of these industries that were trying to pitch these outer things that aren't really necessities couldn't make it, or they were doing it in, not so ethical ways, we were coming from a place of serving like the basics of humanity. And we just were like, we're going to do this right from day one. And the culture we were in and the mentors we had, taught us from day one too, like, don't take advice from people that you wouldn't trade places with. So I think we just were really conscious from day one. So we didn't have to go through that point where we had to look at and be like, oh, maybe we could do something that's like, not so great.
Yeah.
Interesting question. I'm trying to I was going down memory lane as Ashley was talking about it. So I'd say number one, that there's so much to that story that we don't even have time for today. But I think basically back to the 99% work, we hustle. Work's it takes work. Anyone that pretends they got successful without doing work is lying. And so we hustle. We hustle. We do enough work to plan above and beyond what it takes to get the job done. And I think also what we've done has obviously been easy to navigate. We don't have too many highs and lows. And then back to kind of wrap up pretty bow on the whole conversation. There was one time when our company was kind of adjusting a little bit to kind of elevate the integrity. People, one, don't like change, never do. And two, it did weed out some of the people that weren't willing to do the work. They were looking for an easier way out. And I remember that was a tough time for our business. That was the only time that our business kind of stood still.
What about the integrity change? Was it?
It wasn't an integrity change. Basically, what they, without unpacking it all, is people want health. And so, we would have these people that would rise up and, when you have a good paycheck, because we get paid really well for what we do, especially if you're making big impact. Well, back to the motivation conversation, they got really unmotivated. And most people haven't been doing this their whole life. They kind of come into it. So they were really they adjusted our compensation model. And here's the funny thing. It was very slight adjustment so that people wouldn't ever be motivated to just sit and not be of value to other people.
It was a lot harder to just sit back and collect a paycheck.
Yeah.
And there was a decent amount of people sitting back and paying.
And that was out of integrity for our company. And that was a hard time. And long story short, how do we do it? By going into more service people. I've never done so many calls finding out what people actually truly wanted. We had just had a newborn baby. I was on calls probably day and night because I truly wanted to find out who wanted what so I could help them get that. Yeah. There was no sales tactic involved. There was no manipulation. It was just straight up work and finding out how I could help people get what they want in a time that they weren't really sure of it.
Google how many small businesses fail. Yeah, I can't remember the statistic offhand.
It's huge.
But when you sit in a seminar, like Darren Hardy will say, there's 3,000 people, 290 of you aren't going to make it.
Yeah.
Right? Or 2,900 of you aren't going to make it.
Then put the stat on, our industry is direct sales. Mm-hmm. It's probably even higher.
Well, and the reason people get into running their own business or into a commission-based employment is for the freedom.
Yep.
The reason people fail at those is for that freedom too.
Yep.
And it's back to Jocko's discipline equals freedom.
This one says 20% of small businesses fail in the first year, 30% in the second, 50 businesses fail after 5 years in business, and then 30% of small business owners fail in their 10th year in business.
Wow.
So within the first 5 years, it's basically 50%.
And, you can blame a lot of that on not knowing how to run a business, not having education about it. Marketing, yeah.
Blockbuster
things
is great right now.
Yeah. But I would say the number one reason is not being able to handle that freedom and not being disciplined.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
I 100% agree.
And I think then what also is happening with us and what we will continue to see more and more is as the millennials are, and we talked about this at Grant Cardone, was as the millennials become the spenders, that our economy will be more dependent on millennials than anybody. it's going to come down to your adaptability. If you're not willing to adapt, you're done.
I think that there's a large percentage of businesses that are totally missing it with millennials. They think that it's all social media and quick to response, and they don't want the relationship. I think that in a 10-year study, they're going to really regret making that marketing plan.
Yep.
And what we're finding is that, yes, millennials want quick response. They like to be text too, but when they get to a certain point in the transaction, they want that relationship. They want that
Absolutely.
mentorship and advice. And I think that that's being missed. Maybe now people are picking up on it, but
Well, yeah, because they're all listening to your podcast.
well, so let's talk about something else for a second on that topic. I know right now that all four of us are doing this podcast while at the same time in our head we're having anxiety that we're taking 2 hours in the middle of a day because our business is going on right now. How do you guys manage that work-life balance, that grinding out, making phone calls all night? I mean, how do you manage that? Could you guys get to a point where you can shut off?
That is like the
There is
question.
that
man.
is-
What did you just like? You opened this question up now. I would say talk to Ashley. She's been a huge component of
Let me
that.
interrupt you really quick. It takes effort.
Oh,
like
it
right
is-
now, and this is why I love the podcast. I don't like doing them at noon. No, I just discovering this because I'm 90% listening to what you're saying and 10% thinking about what emails are popping up on my email right now, and that's not healthy.
No.
You know, it's why is our generation having a hard time being human and interacting?
Yeah.
Because we're losing the skill of sitting down and having a conversation. Not because we don't want to, but because our watches are ringing, our phones are ringing, our emails are beeping, my instant messenger's going off.
We're slaves.
We are
Yeah.
slaves.
So how do you guys do that?
Just funny because didn't they predict like in 1985 that like with all modern technology by the year where we're in right now that we'd all be working like 8 hours a week like because of modern technology? And now
Yeah.
it's like no, we're actually more tethered to it. I'd say Ashley, it would be a good one to give you some tangible thing. That's actually one thing that we're extremely passionate about with like working with our team because if you don't learn to balance, and honestly, actually, I believe balance is garbage personally. I think you should always be on doing what you're doing.
I'll drink to that.
Cheers.
Cheers. I have water now. You have my drink.
Balance is
Balance is BS,
Bull
to be
crap.
honest with you. And honestly, it promotes the ability that you should rest. I mean, and you should rest. I believe you should be always on doing what you're doing. I'm passionate about my kids. I'm passionate about helping others. I'm passionate about hiking. I'm passionate about like good quality time with family. I'm passionate about recuperation. I should always be on doing the things that matter most. And really, your schedule is just a formulation of your values on paper in a weekly schedule. And so that's how I feel like we've kind of started doing that is we put very conscious blocks of time and then kind of like your box idea, we put different things in place that reinforce those things. And we keep each other back to the accountability, back to the very beginning part of this conversation. We have this written out communication-wise so that we can be accountable to those things. And we give ourselves grace because we're not always perfect on it. But yeah, we definitely have date day scheduled in. We have a whole flow to our week. We have grace at different periods. We communicate. But we definitely make rest and doing things well a big portion of what we do. I actually don't feel like we actually work that much, which we probably get done more now in less time than we did when we were amateurs of doing what we were doing like 5, 6, 7 years ago. I mean,
Yeah.
but you're the actual like person that pushed us to get even better at this. So I'll let her add more to it.
I would say, wisdom is hard earned, right? And this is an area of wisdom that I earned really the hard way. I burnt out hard by 25, like really bad. And really questioned, what am I doing? Why am I doing it? And like, I was thinking so dualistically, this on off, right, wrong, yes, no, all or nothing. That was my mode of function, was all or nothing. And I think I'm kind of like a survivor, if you will. Like I'm a fighter. Probably started way too young in that mindset. And so by 25, it was like adrenal fatigue, totally.
Partly
shot.
because of work, partly because of
I went to college when I was 16, full time. I mean, I was
you're
a
one of those-
grinder.
one of those
Yeah.
overachievers.
I was. And so that, there's beauty to that. But there comes a point where if you do not figure it out, well, and I don't think you're meant to just magically figure it out. You
No one
need
just figures anything out.
to hit the bottom. And for me, that was 25. So that's when I
You're
started.
lucky to have done that so early.
I am so grateful I learned that so early, honestly.
And really,
I
what is good
am.
advice? I mean, where does best advice come from, or best practices? It's from people. It's from necessity and hitting lows, and that's the gift we get to pass on to people is
Oh.
what we learn from those situations. So yeah, very grateful that you went through it at an early age.
When
Yeah.
I did this with Roger, when Roger was on the podcast, he said, everyone wants to know about my success,
I
but
listened to
nobody
this.
wants to know about
Yes.
the 90 failures I had.
Yep.
And that's where the good stuff is.
It really is.
Seriously,
It
So
really
we just
is.
like say cheers to that too.
Yeah,
that is so
like
true.
we're talking about character. Character's not building. Well, how you handle your success is one thing. You know, be a good winner. That's classy. But I really don't care. I mean, I want to see it. What are you doing when you fail?
Yeah.
And
Which
that's
is
how
something
we
that I'm
raise our
worried
kids.
about.
Really,
Not to bag on millennials, since I think we're all in that range here, but like they don't know how to lose and they don't know how to persevere through things. It's like things are hard. Well, then I'm going to walk away. And there's so many upsides to this generation coming up, but I am worried about that aspect. There is very little. That's why, you mentioned coffee and consistency, which is the label that we talk about for our training, because it's just basically coffee because you get up early, get your priorities done, be on purpose
7
with your
a.m.
life,
on a
7 a.m.
Saturday.
And consistency, because you'll learn everything. You'll make impact through consistency. You'll have better results through consistency. It's easier to accomplish because you build up the momentum through consistency. You'll learn through consistency. You'll break through from consistency. And, also you'll have built trust through consistency overall too. So that's why we call it coffee and consistency. And back to what we were just dialoguing on, like consistency and where you learn things in the middle of it is where you'll really break through. And that was a lesson I learned from building our second house that almost killed me. I just literally was like, I just got to stay consistent. I can't control the freezing rain and all this stuff. Like I had to reschedule to finish our house. I literally had a moving truck sitting in a field spinning tires. My wife was in Paris with her son. I literally was like, there's nothing more I can do. And I was like, if I just stay consistent, this will figure out. If I give up, I'm going to get nothing. If I throw a fit, it's not going to accomplish anything.
Yeah.
And that was the number one lesson I learned that changed a lot about our lives, was like, if you just stay consistent, sometimes it'll go bad, sometimes it'll go good. But honestly, I actually hope for the bad. I learned more through the bad and being consistent that end up making a bigger impact in my life.
Do you guys watch that show Alone?
No.
You guys
we
probably
actually
don't
don't
watch
really
a lot of
have
TV.
TV.
I don't. Yeah, we watch a lot. If we're watching TV, it's usually
Well,
like Bubble
just-
Guppies.
Just season pass it.
Alone?
Alone, yeah. So
Alone,
it's
okay.
on its 4th or 5th season now.
Yep.
And what they do is they take 10 people
Yeah.
and they drop them off in the wilderness. They're all divided by either impassable terrain or water, so
Wow.
they can't reach each other. And they're allowed to bring 10 items, and they bring all their own film equipment, and they have a satellite phone. And at any point, they can call, and a rescue team will come get them.
Tap out.
They can tap out, and whoever is the last man standing, they don't know who else is tapped out or not. There's
Wow.
there's no
Yeah.
contact with
It's
anybody.
like the ultimate. I just took notes on this. I was like, I should have been taking notes on this conversation the entire time. I'm
Well,
like, okay,
the
gotta
good
talk
news,
after
it'll
this
be
thing.
on YouTube, and you can.
Oh,
listen
that's
to
right.
it. But so they're not allowed to have contact with anybody. They can't bring food.
It's like the
and
ultimate.
It's the ultimate,
Wow.
and whoever is the last man standing wins like $1 million.
Or woman.
Or woman. But your consistency. So every season's awesome. There's no narrator or anything, so it's a really good show. But this one they're on now, it was all people that have been on the show before but not made it.
Oh,
And
that'd
you
be crazy
see,
to have a show of all the winners.
yeah. But what you just talked
Wow.
about, right?
What did they learn from?
Well, no, like your example of being in the mud, and I can get
Yes.
mad, I can quit, or I can just be consistent. You see people handle that differently. You see the
Yes.
people lose their shit,
Yep.
start crying,
Yeah.
start getting mad and throwing. Because they at a point they must lose the fact that there's cameras or that they're filming themselves,
Yep.
and they haven't seen anybody for 30 days.
Yep.
And you really see their true reaction to their situation.
Wow.
And there's people that handle it really well, that stay consistent, do the same things every day, set little goals, but they still run into challenges. Maybe they'll run into the challenges of missing their loved ones and how they deal with it. But
Yeah.
That's actually what pretty much ties everything together, because emotion is actually another thing that we feel is you should feel your emotions. You should definitely feel them. They're real and they're a big thing. They can be good or bad, depending on situations. But if you stay focused back to the goal conversation, if you're so focused on your goal and what you're doing, and especially if it comes from a mission orientation, the emotions start to really subside and become less of a deal. I find that emotions come up more for people that are less clear on what it is they're doing. So,
yeah.
100%. And that actually also reminds me of, like, did you ever read the book Good to Great? It talked about the 20-mile march and companies that commit to a 20-mile march, and opposed to like making adjustments based on if the weather's good or not good or how they're feeling that day. Like, they're always the ones that like stayed consistent in the 20-mile march always did better over time than the ones that reacted to current situations.
Well, it's like the quote earlier: don't adjust your goals to meet your actions, adjust your actions to meet your goals.
Yeah.
Like, you can't have actions today of, oh, I'm not going to go outside because it's raining. Like, if you've set that action, do that action.
Right.
Whether or not you're walking in the sun or
matter.
the rain.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's hard.
Absolutely.
It sucks. It's not fun. Ever being consistent.
But if you want the fun stuff, man, you gotta do the work. Like, that's where
Yeah.
the most fun happens.
Yep.
Like,
So back to Cody's very first question, and I want to pose it just a little bit different. Was your definition of success at an early age different than it is now? And then also, what is your definition of success now, being where you're at?
Yeah. Yes and yes. Yes, different and yeah. I'll tell you, well, definitely it's different. And to me, success is inner peace, inner freedom.
world peace. No, it's.
I'm not trying to get like fluffy on that.
There's
I'm
actually,
really serious.
you could actually talk a little bit more about, because I know you and I know what you mean by that. Like, maybe you could expand on that, because it's actually quite brilliant what you're saying.
Oh, thank you.
It's our anniversary tomorrow, so I'm scoring points.
Oh, my
smart.
gosh.
Very smart.
Well, I was listening to Oprah have a really great talk.
This is when she goes, it's today, actually.
No, it's not. No.
No, it's not tomorrow. We're celebrating tomorrow.
We're
I actually did mess
celebrating
up.
it tomorrow.
It's Saturday, but we're going to the wedding.
Yeah, we have a.
It's a great way to
You gonna be
celebrate
there?
anniversary.
No, we're gonna be out of town tomorrow.
That's right. You're going to that trip. You're going to Canada, right? Oh, that'll be fun.
Yeah.
All right, I'll have to
So-
party without you.
Still, please do expand though.
Yes.
Okay. So, inner peace to me means things that I've learned is situations. Inner peace is not letting your situations dictate your joy. Joy and happiness are totally different, right? Like, you choose happiness and you choose joy. But true to me, inner peace and joy, the situations just don't matter. And I really lean heavy into peace like a river, because I can imagine a river, it's moving. There's a lot going on, but still it's peace. So no matter what's going on around us, it's my choice to have that peace. And for me, speaking, mentorship and this and that, is what do I need to be doing to make sure that that's a top priority. I'm a better wife. I'm a better mom. I'm a better friend. I'm a better coach. Everything's better when I'm in a place of peace. So that also means it doesn't matter what your situation is. If everything got ripped away tomorrow, could you still find peace? Because if you're constantly dependent on extrinsic things to be your peace, I don't want to live like that. That's not peace to me. That's not what. It's not worth it.
It takes work to get there.
It absolutely takes work,
yeah.
and it takes work to. I don't want to say you stay there. I don't think it's a place of stagnation. It's always moving.
Well, I don't think anyone's ever staying still. There's no staying still in this life in anything you do. You're
Yeah.
either growing or you're dying. That's
Yep.
really the only two ways you're going in this world. So, like, I think, like, it's kind of a trick question, Ryan. Like, does your definition of success change? Well, I don't think you can, to be in an area and have success, you're going to have to evolve and change. Like, you had to you would have to get to that level of success. And then as you have more success, you grow. And your definition of success becomes different. And if you don't stay in that creative flow, you're either going forward or you're going backwards. And so it's kind of a trick question, because, like, yeah, of course it changes. I think longevity comes into it. Like I think of Jason Witten, which is funny because we like kind of semi-named our son after Jason Witten.
Like
but
the tight end for the Dallas Cowboys?
yeah,
Yeah.
He's you like your Cowboys fan?
No. Okay. I'm a fantasy football fan.
Oh,
well, he's a
okay.
good fantasy
He's a great
football.
choice.
He's a good
He's,
tight
he's
end.
like, Witten got me some points.
Talk about
Yeah,
being
man.
consistent. That guy's consistent.
Bill
He's
Parcells
like-
told him that
yes.
actually. He said, "Did you know?" Like, because he was like Bill Parcells was a hard
Can
coach.
you get Jason Witten on your show?
Oh, that'd be so cool.
Maybe you guys can.
Okay.
I don't have. I mean, just I don't know if naming our son after him helps get us any.
I think
clout
I
with
can
them.
get Bill Musgrave on the show.
So Brett Pierce
Yeah.
went to Columbia River and went on to play for the Dallas Cowboys and actually backed up Jason Witten. So we
I'm
Hey,
just saying.
hey.
so in a way, we need to get Brett Pierce on here. Homeboy was all state.
Get on it.
Add it to the
Hey,
list.
as soon
He
as we
was
get done, accountability.
4.0, went to Stanford, played on the football team, made the NFL, and then basically
Not just the NFL, the Cowboys.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Let's
like,
make it clear. That's different.
Yeah,
Well, so Bill Parcells. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
yeah,
Go ahead.
no. So Bill Parcells talked
So
about
Bill
it.
Parcells like told him with one because Jason was like a top draft pick and he like was all hopeful and like Bill just ran him through the ringer like in rookie training camp and he came to him at the end of camp and he honestly thought he was getting cut. That's how bad he was getting treated. And he was like, "Hey Jason, I see mega potential. If you follow my system, I'll make you a great player. But let me tell you, step number one is this." League is all about dependability and consistency. You learn to take care of yourself. You learn to be consistent and be able to call your number. And he started like the most games consecutively in Cowboys history. Yeah. You will be a great player. And so then he also goes on to say later on that one, by learning that, I became a great player. I learned more, but eventually you don't have the body to compete with these
Yes.
world-class athletes. But what you do have is you have knowledge. You have a new focus of success if you're constantly recreating. And he's like, I can trick these 20-year-olds, these 22-year-olds that are world-class athletes with a nod of a head that I learned along the way. And he has to basically back to your question, tying this all together, is he has to redefine what success is for him. It may not be able to like go knock a linebacker on his butt like he did when he was at his college, but if he comes at this like, if I play smarter, if I focus on the new win, that's his new level of success. And I think that's kind of a good example of like
And
how
being a team
success evolves.
captain and
Yeah.
and I never thought about it this way, but I love watching UFC fights where you have the 36-year-old versus the 26-year-old,
Oh, yeah.
24-year-old. So you have that wisdom, expertise versus the pure adrenaline hustle going to knock your head off.
Right.
Yep. But no knowledge, no.
It's two separate ways to achieve a
Right.
goal, right?
Right.
And it's fun to see who wins on that.
And I think that's what I'm saying. Like, I could hustle harder than anybody till 25. And then it took real work in my mind. It took the real work to get to the next level. So now I'm 30. I didn't have kids yet at that point. So, yeah, you want to play the long game in business or anything, it's learning that what is sustainable for you and what do you need to do to like foster that sustainability, and that is not balance.
And
that's
you have
not
to
the same
constantly
thing.
come back to it. Like if you're not constantly coming back to like recreate what matters most for you. I mean, you don't have to always push reset, but you have to always adjust. You just like what was success for me in my early 20s is totally not success for me today's. And like if I'm not careful, if I'm not recreating, if I'm not constantly being conscious of where I'm going, you're gonna fall victim to that, and then it actually can flip flop really quickly on
Yes.
anyone in any industry in any part of life. Like. So, yeah, your question, Ryan, that's a good question. It's like, yeah, but it absolutely has to change if you're going to, I mean, we talked about the business, growth. They probably forgot to stay focused on what success was for them. They probably didn't adapt. They probably didn't change what success was in daily activity. Because if you don't adapt, if you don't grow with every little success, you're going to be buried eventually. And that's personal for all of us here, like as entrepreneurs or in any really sense of anything.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah.
So for the people that are all fired up right now and want to learn more about Optiva and you guys and what you guys do.
Optavia.
Optavia. Sorry. Optavia.
It's all good.
It's fine.
I kept on asking Ryan. I go, Optavia, right?
Well,
Before we started.
there's an interview that Megyn Kelly did recently, and she keeps calling it Octavia. So don't worry.
Isn't that a character
Even
in
Megyn
X-Men?
Kelly can't get it right.
I think it
She's a
is.
bonehead.
I think isn't that a Greek yogurt or something? Or Activia?
Doesn't that help you poop?
Yeah. We
How
digress.
can people get in touch with you? How can they learn more? How can they get more information on what you guys do? And
Good. I would say just Probably reach out to us personally. We're Optavia Ashley on Instagram or Optavia Brad. It's OPTAVIA. Probably just reach
Facebook.
out to us. Facebook, Ashley Miller, Brad Miller.
Reach out to me. I can get you in touch.
Yeah.
Email personally.
Be a huge waste of your time to send you to a website because it kind of goes back to the same thing we talked about earlier. Like, let's find out what matters to you, and then let's do this together. If I just send you to websites, that's not serving you. That's not giving you your highest advantage.
Well, this has been fun. Super excited you guys came on. Glad we had this conversation. I'm going to go back and listen to it so I can take some notes. And who's coming up next? I think Pat Stone. That's going to be a good one.
I know we have, there's one at the end of July, one at the start of August.
We got a few more coming out. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube.
The Hunt for YouTube is just type in The Hunt for Success. But anything else, our website would be thehuntforsuccesspodcast.com, Instagram, Facebook, all those.
Reach out to us. Give us some feedback. Let us know who you want on. So, all right, everybody. Till next time.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.